just being here in Lexington, just the matchup against Colorado?
Well, it's one of the great games that we have every year is Kansas-Kentucky, and whether it's in the Champions Classic or in the Big 12 SEC, it's an awesome matchup. I mean, it's two of the winningest programs in the history of the game, so you don't have to sell this when it sells itself. But being in Rupp, we'll always, for our game day operation, this will always be unforgettable because in 2010 there were 22,000 people in this building for a TV show. I mean, that's hard to. Where else do you get that? I mean, nowhere.
What do you think from Kentucky since that Duke game and how they've kind of changed riding the ship a little bit?
Yeah, the Duke game was a lifetime ago. It seems like. So that was an anomaly, and it might have been. I mean, it was probably the best Duke's played, and it was the worst that Kentucky's played. So there was a lot of gap in between there. But probably over the last 5 games, last time I saw Kentucky in person was at Alabama, and they're way better now than they were then. They're better defensively. I think they're better offensively too. Tyler Hero is a much better player than he was a month ago. So I think they're on an upswing, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of last year when Shea Gilgeous-Alexander took over at the point, and Ashton Hagen's kind of mirroring that, sort of that upward trajectory. And both of them did it with defense first, which is, we always talk about guys having breakout games, and it's an offensive thing. And yet Ashton Hagens has had his breakout on the defensive end, and his offense is kind of following that, which is pretty neat. I know coaches like that kind of thing.
Is he matchup are you most excited about?
What matchup? I think the point guard matchup between Devon Dotson and Ashton Hagens will be fantastic. Hagens is such a great defender. He's long and he's relentless. And Dotson's tough. I mean, he's their best free throw shooter. He's got a clutch gene in him, and always seems to play his best when the lights are on. So I think that'll be the matchup out front, and then Dedrick Lawson will be. Whoever he matches up with will be the inside matchup because he's their most important player. He and LeGerald Vick, they're the 2 leading scorers, and Vick is one of the few guys in the country that can get hot and make challenge threes. Like he can make threes with guys all over him and score 30 in any given game. And then Lawson's a workhorse. He's probably the most consistent front court player scoring and rebounding in the country. In his last 5, he's averaging like 22, 10, 60% from the field, 57% from 3 over his last 5. He's been a load to handle.
Jay, how do you defend him? If you're trying to defend him, what do you need to do to try to slow him down?
Lawson, you mean?
Yeah.
I think you have to make him go to his left because he likes to get to his left shoulder and he'll spin back to it. But I don't think it's a one-man job. I think you got to defend him with all 5 guys. But a lot of teams that have had some sort of success slowing him down have sent 2 guys at him and get the ball out of his hands. I mean, most of the best defenders play their man before he gets the ball. If you play him after he gets the ball, he's going to score. You have to play him before he gets the ball, and it can't just be one guy. I think your help defense has to be very alert because they do such a good job of, they use ball screens, rub screens, drags. And they turn corners, and oftentimes they don't attack. It's not that they're attacking an initial defender; they attack the help really well. And so I think you have to be really strong in your help, and then recover. It's one thing to help; it's another thing to recover.
Last question.
How much of your thoughts on Kentucky?
That's my SID.
How much of your thoughts on Kentucky changed throughout the year, and how much do you think tomorrow will affect that kind of long term? What do you think about this team?
That's a good question. I don't think at least what we do and what you guys do, because we're all in the same business. It's kind of funny interviewing media, but I don't think what we do is necessarily making these pronouncements of what's going to happen. Like, I know Kentucky's going to be a different team in a month than they are now, and as long as everybody stays healthy. So when you give an assessment of, okay, this is where the team is now, it's not like you're saying, okay, and that's it. That's the end of the growth. That's never been the case, especially here. But a lot of these teams are still getting better. And there was something that I found really interesting. I watch a lot of these coaches shows because they're good. And Villanova had something. Last year's Villanova team that won the championship was talking about winning in the tournament, and they wanted to keep advancing so they could keep practicing and keep getting better. And that was an older team that was trying to win a title, and yet their mindset was, if we keep winning, we get to keep practicing, we get to keep getting better. And so if you can get better at the end of the year through the tournament, I mean, now there's a huge growth curve for a team like Kentucky right now. So this is the next test, but tomorrow is not a final exam. It's just the next test, and so they'll be different in a month. So you're always looking at how they're changing.